the first time, it was always like custard and gravy. Can you pour that on yourself? And I was just like, Back then, I was living at home with my parents. I was like, I don't think they're going to be best pleased if I'm like putting my bed sheets in the wash with a 10-ton of gravy over it, and I'm just walking out in the hallway like, hi guys.
Hi lovelies, you are tuning in to the Ins and Outs with me, Ruby Rare.
And me, Megan Button Hansen.
From our chat last week about like singleness, and for me, just like a lot of shit hitting the fan this year, it has made me... where are you at with astrology?
I don't know too much.
You're literally wearing a Pisces necklace. So I know that you are invested somewhat in this.
I all of a sudden took an interest in astrology as soon as I started dating women.
I think you kind of have to.
Everyone's so into it in like the gay scene. So then I kind of knew, but I only know mine, my relatives and ex-girlfriends.
Do you know your big three?
No.
Okay, we'll do that sometime.
Yeah,
that's
do you know, what's yours?
So I'm Cancer Sun, so we're both water babies.
That's why I love you, because you're a Cancer.
We're going to get deep. And then my rising is Sagittarius and my moon is Virgo. The more I've heard about Saturn returns, I'm like, oh, I think this is real. I think I'm doing it right now. This is like...
I don't have a clue what Saturn returns is.
Like the point in your life when the planet Saturn goes back to where it was when you were born. And so it's meant to be like really disruptive and about like rebirth and shit. And so it's basically it happens like roughly every 30 years. And so it's like a year and a half of just like shit hitting the fan, a lot of change, a lot of big things happening. And I was always kind of skeptical about it. And then I think now I'm in mine and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, noted. I guess I just have to like ride this out and let the planets do whatever weird shit they're doing, and I'll hang on in there.
That makes sense though, because I feel like for me also, I'm like going through a time where I'm like trying to change, and like I've got this new therapist and stuff, and I'm like going through it at the minute, and I'm like, oh, it's hard, but maybe it is.
Maybe
it's help rebirthing.
I want to get our charts up and see when your Saturn returns is. I actually was on a date with a woman last year, and we were chatting about it, and I was like, I don't really know if I believe in it, whatever, da, da, da. And then she looked up and she was like, she started pissing herself laughing, and then looked up at me and was like, it's saying that your Saturn returns begins tomorrow.
No way.
Like, what? This is my last day before everything gets really chaotic. And actually, like, she was right. It was really the beginning of a lot of shit going down. So
no.
I think we're getting to, well, maybe we should find out when it's ending, and then when ours ends, we can like have a little celebration.
Have a debrief and be like, thank God for that.
Like, we got through it. Right. Okay. Should we get into our topic for this week?
Let's dive in. Working in the sex industry, I've encountered like so many different like kinks, fetishes, but I didn't even know there was like different categories for what like a fetish is, a kink is, and all this. So I'm excited to learn.
Yay. Well, we will break it down. I think this is a topic that's going to come up a lot. And so this episode's, I think I'm kind of approaching it like an overview of everything. But I am fascinated by this world and I want to get into it more. And so I'm sure that like we'll have specific episodes that will be about like really, really going into different things. But for now, overview of the whole wonderful kinky BDSM world. Yeah,
let's do it.
I think that's good. Before I give definitions, I want to know where you're coming from with this. Like when I say kink, what is your frame of reference?
I feel like you're going to judge me because I feel like I'm not sheltered. I thought I was very like open, but maybe I am. So when people say like fetish, I'm just like torture garden, latex, dog masks. I don't know. Like that springs to mind. Or like feet fetish. Like that's a big thing for like a lot of straight guys, I feel.
It's this whole wonderful world. And like you probably know more than the average person about it. But like it's kind of nice. It feels a bit like going through the cupboard in Narnia, or like Alice in Wonderland, or Dorothy coming out of the thing. It's like this little world that I think can feel very taboo, or like a bit secretive, a bit unknown. And the more that you dive in, for me, the more fascinating it gets.
Yeah.
So you've already got some frame of references, like yes to latex, yes to little puppy masks, yes to foot fetishes. You're hitting a lot of the big ones.
But I feel that they're the most like generic, like mainstream kind of fetishes? Do you think? Like the foot fetish, the dog mask, and the latex thing that's very...
Kind of. But also, most of the time when I speak to people about kink, their frame of reference is like a blindfold and some handcuffs. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's lovely. Wow. But that feels to me, and I don't mean this in a derivative way at all, but like that's pretty 101 stuff. You're talking about stuff that's like a little bit more hardcore.
To me, that was so vanilla.
Well, hey, that's saying more about you than anything else. But like there's no like better or worse. There's no competition with this. It's about you indulging in your own desires and fantasies rather than like doing it because it's something other people are doing or it's something that you need to do.
Okay, so can you help me with all the different categories like BDSM, kink, fetishes? Because I don't have a clue what's going on right now.
Okay, I got you. Don't worry. So I think of kink as a term that describes, I guess, like more non-conventional types of sexual play. So you've got pretty standard vanilla sex, which is like pleasurable, lovely, hot, and anything that adds a little bit more spice into the mix, I would identify as kinky. A lot of the time that can play into kind of power dynamics or an extension of play beyond just like, this is some really nice hot sex.
What about BDSM? What does it stand for?
You want to have a guess?
If someone said BDSM to me, I'd be like tying someone up, spanking them, like dominance, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Am I in the right ballpark?
You're in the right ballpark. You totally are. So BDSM, the 4 letters stand for bondage and discipline. Bondage is like someone being constrained or like tied in different ways. Discipline, punishment-y thing. And then the S and the M are for sadism and masochism. So sadism is inflicting pain, pleasurable pain on someone else. And masochism is the pleasure of receiving pain. And the D and the S can also stand for like dominance and submission. So that is a lot of like power play dynamics. I think, you know, unfortunately, the biggest cultural example we have of that is 50 Shades of Grey still, which I don't think is the best example of like kink and BDSM. But how down for you, like, because that's something that I have definitely dabbled in before. And actually it's fun. And I think pain is something in a sexual context that can be really interesting if you're in an environment that you feel safe in. It's like a real heightened sensation and kind of just makes all of my other senses like buzzy and super alert, which if you haven't experienced that before, you maybe look at it and being like, why do you want to get hit? That doesn't look fun. No,
literally, that was going to be my question. So there's like certain things, this is like so TMI, but like,
that's what we're here for, love.
I'm literally exposing so much. But like the whole spanking thing, I'm into that because it's not like that painful, but it's kind of like hot. But like, you know, when people like nipple clamps, what on God's earth is happening here? Because I've tried, and like when I used to do webcam, guys would be like, oh, can I pay you to put these? Absolutely not, sir. Even if you paid me £1 million, if I was like having sex or someone's going down on me and I like done it a little bit, that could be hot. But when it's like so much, I'm like, no, like I'm just trying to like have a good time right now. Like, why are we trying to add pain into here?
I think we all have a different relationship to this. And I'm quite fascinated, like maybe your version of like where you're comfortable with and what's like pushing your limits in like a fun way, and then what would actually just be pushing your limits in a like, no thank you, not into that way, is going to be different from mine and different from every person listening. And it's less like a you need to be more extreme, it's more finding your edge and like how and if you want to play with it and push it a bit.
Yeah,
because I naturally have like quite a high pain threshold, and so if I want to experience some kind of fun pain in sex, like someone's going to have to put some muscle in.
I love you so much for your honesty. Okay, so can you tell me what a fetish is, like as opposed to BDSM and a kink?
A kink often is a want and a fetish can sometimes be a need.
Right, okay.
Of like kinks can be, and again, my understanding of this from my sex life and the way that I work and teach is that kinks can be like embellishments and add-ons that are really fun ways that we like enhance sex.
Yeah.
Whereas someone having a fetish, it's a much more like intense relationship with sexual objects or sexual practices. So you talking about latex, like some people might just get like quite turned on and be really into latex, and that would maybe be more of a kink. But if you're someone who like is really into that and like that is the thing that gets you off, and you find it quite hard for that to like get off without that being there, that might be categorized more in a fetish-y category. So like the same with feet, like you can be into feet or you can be into feet.
So I guess like with a kink, it's just like spicing up generic vanilla sex, but then with a fetish, it's like you kind of need that aspect in your like sexual life.
I guess the thing I've thought about and spoken about in the past from more of a fetish lens is like, you don't know this about me.
Oh, tell me. I'm excited.
I'm really into jelly.
Stop.
And now it's become trendy. Now there's like porn being made with jelly and it's amazing. But like I've been here since day one, really into this shit. But in the past, I've definitely thought of that more as a fetish. And I think there have been moments where it's been more heightened. Now I classify that as like, that's a kink thing I'm into. And it kind of, that enters into the sploshing world, which is like, it's also called like wet and messy play, of just being like really uninhibited and messy. And that could be with food or like other substances. But yeah, I just think jelly's hot and mesmerizing, and like, I can't talk about it publicly very often because it gets me like in a really weird headspace.
Oh my God. It gets me in a weird headspace. It gets me all hot and bothered.
But then also I'm a vegetarian, which is really hard because there is good vegetarian jelly. Don't worry, I've tried. But in the past, people like mates have given me jelly, and I'm like, that's really sweet of you, but also like I don't want the pig and the beef gelatine.
Yeah.
But also like,
is this vegan?
Thank you for being really sex positive. It's a real balance.
Thank you so much for like taking on my kink fetish, but also, is that vegan?
Dietary requirements are important. What a wanky thing as well from me, but hey, that's who I am.
No, stop. You like what you like. But did you see, I love Erica Lust as like a producer, and did you see she just brought out a video of jelly?
Yeah, it's been around. That has been like the most sent to me from my followers. Like everyone just exploded when that came out, of being like, have you seen this one? And it's like, yes, of course I've seen this. Of course I'm really into it. It's really hot. It's really beautiful. But yeah, jelly is definitely becoming more trendy, and I am very happy about that. I'm also doing that smug thing of, if you've really liked a band for ages, being like, I liked it before it was cool, guys.
Yeah, like you're just getting
I'm
to
OG, okay? I've been into jelly for 10 years.
I was here from day one. No, I'm actually going to go home and watch the jelly video now.
Okay, good. Let me know what you think.
I want to see.
We've done definitions. I've shared a bit too much, and now it's your turn. Give me some stories.
No, it's on you. So I have obviously worked in the sex industry for a long time, and guys will like ask me for things that I think are like so random, and like, I don't know, I just can't see the sexual side of it, but obviously there must be something that they're into. So let me give you some examples.
I'm ready.
The first one that really took me by surprise, obviously the whole like sploshing thing and all of that, like I've heard about that for a long time. So the first time it was always like custard and gravy. Can you pour that on yourself? And I was just like, Back then I was living at home with my parents. I was like, I don't think they're going to be best pleased if I'm like putting my like bed sheets in the wash with 10 ton of gravy over it, and I'm just walking up like in the hallway like, hi guys. Custard in my eyelashes, like, hi.
Also, I'm less bothered. I mean, lol, and I agree with you that probably your parents didn't need to see that. But I think both of them as separate things. Love, live your life. Personal preference for me, mixing them, big no. I'm a purist. I really don't like, I'm like wet and messy, but not too messy. I don't want like sweet and savory interacting. That really like upsets my brain. But I'd fuck with gravy, and I'd fuck with custard.
But can I ask, like, what is it? Is it like the whole like texture thing, like you want to be like have it on your body, or is it like I don't know, like you want to lick it off someone's like tits. Like I don't get it. Like,
It's less the licking things off. I think there's like that real stereotype of being like licking whipped cream or like chocolate off someone. That feels very stereotypical to me. I think it's tapping into something that is so purely joyful, and it's about the permission to like make a mess and fuck up and like be like, it's all, I think a lot of the time, and people can find it hard to talk about this stuff, but like some of the stuff from kink can come back to us being quite early on in childhood. So like me being told that I needed to be really careful and like be polite with my table manners and not make a mess and like eat my food and not be like too playful with it. When you're then presented with something like jelly, which is literally the most joyful food object I can think of, like, of course you want to put your hands in it and like smush it all together and just like throw it over. Well, I want to like throw it all around or whatever, but there's a forbiddenness in doing that. So it's like breaking the rules. It's kind of nestling up to those taboos. So I know that for other people, is like, if you look at loads of other kinks, really it's sometimes like tapping into the forbiddenness of it. And maybe for like the guys that you were like seeing when you were doing camming stuff, it's being able to like watch someone really hot and beautiful like do this thing that's so forbidden. Yeah. And like that kind of being titillating or like maybe even a bit liberating, or also like factoring into like humiliation stuff if people are into that like someone doing something that from an outside world might be like a humiliating act if you're like covered in custard and gravy.
Yeah, no, I get it. That does make so much sense now, because obviously when you're growing up, it's like, yeah, like be polite, don't do this. And it's like, no, I'm just throwing the rule book out the window. And if I want to wear the fucking gravy, I'm wearing the gravy.
Love that phrasing. Wear the gravy. So what else did you experience in your time?
This is another one which really I feel like I'm so open-minded, but I just couldn't understand this one. This guy paid for me to put handcuffs on and wash my hands with soap.
I love that.
And in my head, I'm trying to like rework this and think like, okay, like obviously I'm going to do it if you're paying me money, but equally like I'm such a nerd. Like I love to like deep dive and like find out and I was like, but what actually is it?
I've got no idea. I wish we could speak, but like I think everyone's got these things where I wish we could speak to them and be like, explain how all of this like adds up as something that is exciting. I guess also sex work is an opportunity, is like a space for clients to maybe ask for things that they wouldn't be able to ask in their real life. Because if he was asking that other girlfriend who wasn't as sex positive or like as open-minded, that might be met with a lot of shame of like, what the fuck? Why would you ask me to do that? That's really weird. And actually working like with you or another sex worker, like being given the permission to just ask for the weird stuff and be like, I also don't need to justify it. I just want to do this thing and it's going to make me happy. I've got no idea.
And be authentically them, which is so nice. Like I've had it a few times. Like there was this guy and he was like married and he would come on webcam and he was like, I've got something to show you. So obviously in my mind, I was like, of course he's just going to be sitting there with his dick out. Wasn't even, he was laying there with stockings and suspenders. But then I was like, you know, like some guys like to be humiliated. I didn't know if I was supposed to be like, oh my God, like your nutsack's hanging out with that like tiny lacy thong, or whether I'm supposed to be like, babe, you look stunning.
You look pretty. Oh.
And I hate being like mean to people. So I was just like, oh my God, you look so hot. But I'm not sure if that's what he wanted, but that's what I gave him.
I don't know how you go about that. I think because day to day, I'm in charge a lot of the time. Like I'm a big sister, I'm quite organised. And so actually in sex, I really enjoy, I just would love someone else to steer the ship and tell me what to do.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
And be like, oh my God, tell me that I'm really good and that I've done a good job. That's a praise kink, if anyone is curious listening.
What's it called?
Like a praise kink.
Oh my God.
Of just being really into, because I don't want someone, I'm too sensitive, water signs. If someone's mean to me, like in a humiliating way or like says something actually really cutting and mean, I'll just cry. But for other people, they'll be really into that. I want to be told that I have done really well and like be patted on the head and been told that I'm good.
That's crazy. I think this whole astrology thing does make sense now because I'm the same.
Yeah.
Day to day, I'm like, such a feminist, like independent bitch. I'm like, if a man ever spoke to me like shit, I'd be like, fuck off. As soon as I'm like in a sexual thing, talk to me like shit and be like, oh my God, like do this, do that. I'm like, yes, okay.
But that's again about subverting the rules. Like if we're, you know, empowerment for everyone, but particularly for women and for queer people as well is so important. But also we've got to find spaces where we can play with that and subvert it. And actually kink can be like, that's, all of this can actually be really political, because I've spoken to loads of people, women especially in the past, who felt really shameful about feeling submissive. And like what you're saying of being like, but I'm empowered and like, I don't want that. Like, why is this turning me on? And like, that's kind of the whole point, that we've been told that we shouldn't put up with this shit, and we need to be like, and we should be, you know, independent and self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But why can't sex be a space where we play with that?
I feel like in a way it's kind of like when, you know, like when you're a kid and you're like at school or you're living your life, and then you'll be like, oh, let's go and play this game, and all of a sudden you're like outside and you're pretending you're like, I don't know, like, you know, make believe like shit. That's basically what we're doing, isn't it?
It's like playing but for grown-ups.
It's like playtime for adults.
I used to, in the playground, we used to play the Tudors.
Play the Tudors.
We used to pretend that we were like different wives of Henry VIII, because obviously it would have been like year 4 and we were doing the Tudors in school, and we were all into how like gory it was. And so in a playground session it would be like, okay, who's the queen? And then everyone like plotting to kill her, and then we'd behead her, and there'd be like another queen.
Oh my God.
It was really fun.
That's such like intelligent, like I was literally playing mums and dads, or then I'll just go into like Kiss Chase.
I mean, Kiss Chase was fun as well, don't get me wrong. But yeah, like I think sex can be an opportunity to tap into so many of those feelings. You're right. It's like, that's why I'm so obsessed with this. And I think you are too, that it's not just like, sex isn't just sex. It's like political, and it's about the way that we see ourselves and the way we like process the world around us. And kink is an extension of sex.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think if we all started to see sex through more of a kink lens, just like day to day, it would be great.
And it's just like having fun when we've got like bills to pay, like everyday like stresses of life. This is a time where you can just like be authentically you and just have fun.
Okay, before we finish up, I actually do have something that I need your advice about.
Okay.
It's stressing me out, because I feel like I should be good at this and I'm just not. I have started sleeping with someone who is very cute, very hot, very lovely. But we are both on the more subby side.
Right.
And they want me to be more dominant. And in theory, I'm game. Megan, I'm so nervous.
In theory, I'm game, but
I feel really out of my depth, because I'm just like, I want to be good at this, but I haven't practiced it as much. Like, yeah, I don't know what to do.
No, I hear you, because equally, like, I dress up in that like latexy like whips and chains. Like, I've done all these videos, and we call it like, on my OnlyFans, I'm like, Mistress Megan. They're like, when's Mistress Megan coming back? And then they ask me, like, can you be mean to me? Can you dominate me? I'm like, no, I'm the little baby here. No,
it's just for show.
Do you feel the same? Like,
kind of, yeah.
I just want to be the baby. We can't both be the baby.
Well, I guess you can, but sometimes someone's going to want to be like told what to do and bossed around a bit. Yeah, and in theory, I really want to lean into it, but and maybe even because I know a lot about this world, I feel I have then pressure that like I should be good at it, and I feel embarrassed about like giving it a go and being a bit shit to begin with. Like, well, I think I'll get there. I think we need a pro dom on here at some point to like actually ask our questions to. Like someone who properly knows what to do and gets like real joy out of it. I need to tap into that joy.
Can we? Because
I feel so nervous.
You shouldn't. And also, I feel like you shouldn't put that pressure on yourself. Like, because obviously you're so knowledgeable about like the whole sex thing. But like, it doesn't mean you're going to be amazing and like be into every single thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think you need to give yourself a bit of grace and be like, yeah, it's just not really my vibe. But for you, you're hot. So I will be dominant for you. But I just need to like dip my toe in first. Have you tried over text or anything?
A little bit. And like, I can do it, but I'll do it. And then I'm like, ah! I can't keep my cool about it yet. And so I think I need to just get used to it. And I do have fun. Also, if I gave it a go and I actually wasn't enjoying it, I'd say that and we'd figure out something else.
Yeah.
But I think this has been looming for a while that like I'm not comfortable with this and I'd like to be able to give it a go. I also think it's quite nice if you like sit on a more subby or dommy side to know what the other side is like.
Definitely. But I think first point of call, we definitely need to get like a professional like dominatrix going here to teach us.
Mistress Megan in next week.
Yeah, like
Show me your whips.
I need to not like cosplay the part. I need to actually be her. So we need
Should we record an episode as like our dom alter egos once?
Oh my God.
That actually makes me so nervous.
No, stop. When we get the professional, we should actually dress as very like dominant. It might help us.
It might help. It might help. You're right. Okay. I'm going to have to need some warming up for that, but I am on board. And if you've got any advice or tips, then please let us know. I'm glad that I'm not alone in this.
No.
And that you feel it too, because otherwise, no, it'd be fine if it was just me, but.
It's so funny how it's like circled back to the whole astrology thing. I do think water signs, we're very sensitive and maybe just, I would love to know if there's like a Pisces, Cancer, dominant, like, what's it called? Dominatrix out there.
Let us know, babes.
Maybe.
Or if it's all fire signs.
Yeah. So if people were a bit like me and they didn't really understand the difference between like kinks, fetishes, BDSM, where is the best place for them to learn?
Whew, I mean, literally just Google. No, I'm joking. No, I have some recommendations. There are some really good books called The New Topping Book and The New Bottoming Book, which are by Dossie, Easton and Janet Hardy. They're old. They're like 20 years old, but they really stand up in just like being more dominant, being more submissive. I find them very interesting. There's also a like book called Kink, which is just lots of different stories of like so many different worlds. We'll like put that in the show notes. And then finally, I want to shout out one of my lovely, lovely friends, Lola Jean. She is incredible and like comes from the kink pro dom world, does loads of stuff around like wrestling and like is amazing. And her Instagram I love because she talks about kink with a lot of like tenderness and cheekiness. So check that out.
Cool. I'm going to have to download them myself.
Every week I'm just giving you homework now, babe. I'm sorry.
I love
Fun
this.
Homework.
You're literally teaching me.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you're praising me. Yay. We're all happy.
So if you have any stories or any kind of fetishes that you think me and Ruby don't know about, please write in and tell us because we want to know all of the fetishes. I want to educate myself and I want to know all of them.
You're just collecting. This is like Pokemon for you now.
This is so fun. I'm like, I want to try everything.
Okay, well, I'm very here to facilitate this journey. And yeah, if you have any other like tips or comments from the stuff that we've discussed, I'm really game to like hear what you think. Everything that you send is basically going to help us inform how we continue making this and making it like the most interesting that it can be. And we have an email address now.
Oh my God.
And I'm really excited about that.
So professional.
Look at us.
Girl, we've made it. We've got a podcast with an email address.
Yeah, although I can't remember what the email address is. I have to look. Okay, the email is hello@insandoutspod.com. So please send things there. We're really excited to hear what you think.
And if you're a sick dominatrix, please come and teach us because we need to be more fierce in that aspect.
Yeah. Really, we need it.
Mistress Megan needs to come to fruition. I can't just cosplay it. I need to be
OnlyFans is thirsty for it. We need this to happen.
We'll be back next week with a new episode of The Ins and Outs. So make sure you tune in.
Bye, babes.